Okay, so today we're going to discuss on how to create families using Revit. So here we're in the welcome menu or welcome window of Revit. So here on this side, you can see here the models and families, and then the two buttons, which is the open and new. So we're going to click this new button. So upon clicking that, there will be a window that will pop up. So here you can see the different templates that you're going to use to create your families. So what we're going to use now is the generic model. So here there are two ways to create a family. So the first one is again by clicking the generic model, and the other one is you can actually choose the category on what kind of family that you're going to do. For example, you're creating a furniture, so you have to click this furniture template. But for now, again, we're going to use the generic model. So anyways, after we create or use the generic model, we can change, or we can change the categories of our families. So let's click the generic model, then click open. So in your drawing area, you will see here the two hidden lines. So these two hidden lines are the reference planes. So meaning this is your center, and then this hidden line, this reference line, once you click it, you can see here the left or right, meaning that this plane is indicates whether your view is on the left or right view, and then this one for the front and back. So as you can see, it is pinned, but if you want to extend the reference plane, you can unpin it and then extend the uh, ends of the reference plane. So for now, we're going to create a cabinet. So to create a cabinet, by the way, here in the ribbon panel, you can see here the different tools that you can use for your modeling a family. So these tools are the same with the model in place. So you have the extrusion, you have the blend, you have the revolve, sweep, swept blend, and void forms. So other commands are also the same with the model in place. So going back, uh, since you're going to create a cabinet, what you have to do first is to create your reference. So what we're going to do is click the reference plane, or you can type RP for the shortcut, and the reference line. So the difference between the reference line and the reference plane is that reference plane is used for you to work on that plane. I mean, once you created the reference plane, it will be your working area or your drawing area. While the reference line, it is just a line where it has both ends. You cannot use this if you want to create a model. For example, you want to create a model on the front view, so you cannot use the reference line as your reference plane, since this is just a line lang. So what you can do if you want to use the reference line is, if you want your model like to be same as walls, no, it is indefinite length. So that's the other use of the reference line. So anyways, so let's click the reference plane icon, or you can type RP. So what we're going to do is to create the reference plane. So since you create the other one, you can use the command mirror. So type mm, and then click this, then click spacebar, then click your the center reference plane. So it will automatically mirror this reference plane. Okay, but before that, as you can see here, once I click this reference plane, our unit is in feet and inches, or in English system. So what we're going to do is to change our units. So type UN and then change the length to millimeters or whatever your preferred units. So I prefer millimeters, so I'm going to choose millimeters as my project units for my drawing. So then click OK. So once you click this, you will notice that our uh, units or the value of our distance from this reference plane are now in metric system. So next, here in the Create tab, we're going to use the Extrusion tool. So we have to click this one. Then we're going to use the rectangle draw tools. So you can actually create a rectangle naman, any length that you want, because we're going to change this while we're going to create a cabinet. Then click finish, and then we will align this to our reference line. So this reference is our reference plane. So this reference plane actually helps you when you are uh, putting your families in your project. Because for example, you want to align your families to a wall. So once you use the align command, you will see that those reference plane will be seen on your families once you hover your cursor to your families. Later on, you will see that once we try to put our families in our project. So next is to align this extrusion to our reference line. So by the way, we'll have to create another reference plane. So here on the side, you can actually rename your reference plane. So once you click this one, just click this, click to name, and then rename this one. So let's say I will rename this as cabinet face, because this will help when you want to choose a reference plane that you want to work on. But if you don't want to rename it, it's fine. And then we have to align this one. So type AL, or you can go to the modify tab and click this icon, align. So we will align this, then lock it in place, and this one as well, lock it in place. Then this one, lock it in place, and not this one. So you have to lock it in place or lock your model to your reference plane. So if ever that you want to change the dimensions or the length or width of your families, it will also follow to it. Okay, so let's cancel the command by pressing escape multiple times. And then, so the families that we're going to create is a parametric family. Anyway, if you don't want a parametric family, this is also the process on how you will do it, on how you create your family. So parametric family, okay, just to for you to understand, parametric families are families that can be changed, or you can edit its functions. For example, dimensions. So if you have a family, for example, like this one, a cabinet, and you want your family to be editable, that with its length and width and its height, you will use a parametric family. Parametric means that the object has a parameters, meaning it has values, functions, and formulas. So that's parametric. So going back, so I'll put now dimensions here. So to put a dimension, you have to go to the annotate tab and then click the align dimension or this icon, or you can type DI as its shortcut. So to put a dimension, so we will have to click this reference plane and this center reference plane, and then this reference plane. Okay. Then we have to lock it, and then click the equal sign. So if you want your dimension to have an equal uh, label or tag, you don't have to release it first. So you have you should have a continuous clicking before you release it to have a equal tag on your dimension. So again, di for the whole length of our cabinet. Then you don't have to lock it first because we're going to provide a parameters on it. So to provide or to put a parameter, what you have to do is to select this dimension, and then on the ribbon panel you can see here the label or label dimension. You have to click this create parameter icon, and then this dialog box will pop up. So under the parameter type, we have the family parameters and shared parameter. So meaning, family parameters, this is the usual parameter for families. Once you use the shared parameter, this will be used if you're in a collaboration uh, part of Revit. So if you want to share your families with them, you can use the shared parameter. However, this might affect your project, because if someone changed the parameters of that shared family, it will also affect your project. So usually what we're going to use na lang is the family parameter rather than the shared parameters. So we will take this family parameter, or we will just let it take like that. And then next is the parameter data. So this parameter data, it has name. So this name, you will actually put name for your parameter. So since our family is cabinet, so usually the parameters used are the length, width, and height. So let's try to put the length. So it will depend on you on what name of the parameter you want to put on your families. Okay. Next is the discipline. So we have here the common. So you can have, so if you notice it's gray out, it means that since this is a generic model, we cannot change the discipline. Okay, so that's why it's still grayed out. And then for the discipline, same as with the uh, project units. Once we open it, you can see there the structural, mechanical, electrical. So the usual discipline that we're going to use is the common. So next is the type of parameter. So still gray out, but if we change the categories later on, it will be you can actually change it. So there are other type of parameters that you can see there. For example, you have the area, the angle, whatsoever. And then the group parameter under it means it's your category. Under what category is your parameter. So once you click this one, you have other group parameters that you can see here. So you have the force, you have the fire protection. Since our parameter is in length, so definitely the group that it should be under is in dimensions. So here on the right side, you can see here the type and instance. So what's the difference? So type parameter, it means that it's dependent parameter. Meaning if you put your families and copied it, you put your family on a project and then copy that. Once you change the dimension or the length, all the families that has the same or the copied families that you put on your project will also be changed. So for example, you put 600 in length, so all the families that you copied will be in 600 in length. So instance parameter, this is independent parameter type. So for example, again, we put this cabinet into a project, and then we copied it, and we change the dimension. So the only family that you change the dimension will only be changed. It will not affect the other copied families. Then we're going to use the instance parameter. So let's click OK. So to test it, you have to, at first, we have to lock it. Then test the parameters that we created. So for example, you want it 1, 2. So constraints are not satisfied. So remove constraints. So let's try 100. Okay. So you can see here that we can now edit our cabinet or our object. So next is to create the parameters here. So again, you have to type di or go to the annotate tab and then click the align dimensions. So click this. Okay, let's try if this is, let's lock it first. EL. Okay. So di. Then you don't have to lock it. So just click this dimension and then click this create parameter. So let's rename this as width. Then instance parameter, click OK, then lock. So to try it, so let's say 450. So see, it will be changed. So another difference pala for the instance and type, here on your properties, if it's in type parameter, you can see the parameters that you've created here on the properties. Okay, if it's instance, you can see it here. So to check it, you can actually click this icon, the family types. Then you can see here the parameters that you created. So you already have now the length and width. Okay, let's cancel. So here, once you click this, you can see its properties. Later on, you will see this once we've done creating our families. Once we put it in our project, you can see the difference. If it's instance, you can see the parameters that you've created on your family here in the properties. And if it's in type parameters, you can see it here on the edit type. So next, we have to go to the front view. Okay, so here in the front view, you can see here the extrude object that we created. So once you click this one, the end is 250. So we have to create another reference plane. So go back to the create tab, then click this reference plane, or you can type RP. Then just put your reference plane above your object, and then align this extruded object to your reference plane. So type AL, then click this reference plane, then click the top line, and then lock it. So next, we have to create our dimension. So type DI, and click this one to here. So you don't have to lock it if you want to create the parameters. By the way, you have to, let's lock this one. So AL, then lock. So this one also, you have to lock it here. So click this dimension and then create parameter. Let's name it as height. Then instance. Then click OK. Then lock it. So to check, so let's say it's a full height cabinet. So make it 1.8. So there. Or another one, 1.5. So let's change it to 1.8. Next is the we will create now the opening for our cabinet. So, for example, this cabinet is made up of a plywood. So, 3/4 plywood, for example. So, we'll create a reference line. So, what we have to do, go back to the create. Then let us first set our reference plane on the front view. So, click this set, then change the, since we've renamed one of our reference plane, we can actually select that. So, reference plane, cabinet face. Or if you don't rename it, you can pick a plane. So, let's click OK. So, to see your reference plane, I'll click this show icon. So, there. So, let's click this one. So, we're now going to use the reference line instead of the reference plane. There. Another one. Here. And for this one. So, for example, we're going to create a 3 opening cabinet. Sorry. And this one. Okay. So, we'll change the height. So, let's make this as 100. And this one. 100. For this one, let's say 19 for the thickness of our plywood. Same as with this one, 19. And this one, 19 as well. And this, 19. Okay, so once we've created our reference line, we'll now go to the create tab and make an opening for this one. So what we're going to use is the void form. So click this, then void extrusion. Then let's use the rectangle tool. Okay. Then we have to lock it in place. Then click the finish. Same as with this one. So create, then void forms. Use the rectangle tool and lock it in place. Same as with this. I'm sorry, let's cancel. Use the void forms. Then lock it in place. And finish. So we'll go now to our left view. You see our Okay, so let's align. Okay. Remove constraints. Okay. So let's align this. Again, let's go back to our left view. So we'll create a reference line here. Create. Then let us set our. So let's try the pick a plane. Okay, let's go here. There. So let's put a reference line here. And then change the distance to 90. Then we will have to align this one. So AL line, then lock it in place. Okay. There. So if we go to our 3D view, we can see here that our cabinet has now an opening. Okay. So next is we'll go to our front view and then put a dimensions here. So type DI, then lock it in place. Same as here, lock it in place. This one, lock it in place. We don't have to lock this one. Later on I will explain. Then lock this in place. Okay. Let's just lock in place first for the thickness of our materials. Then this one, lock it in place. So we will going to create a parameters for this opening. So let's click this one and create parameter. Let's name this as bottom opening. Then instance. Then click OK. Then lock it in place. Next is this opening. So click this dimension and then create parameter. Let's name this as mid opening. Then click the instance, then lock it in place. So for this one, we will not lock this in place because these two opening are editable. So if we lock this one, we cannot edit the other opening. Okay, meaning if we lock the dimension, for example this one, so we want always the thickness of this partition in 19 mm. That's why we lock it. So same as on this one, so 100 mm for the top and then 100 mm on the bottom. That's why we lock it. We just want this still the same even though we change the length, dimension, and height of our cabinet, even the openings. So that's why we will not lock this one. So to test this, so for example, I want this 450. So as you can see here, the bottom opening changed to 450 height, and then the mid opening still the same, and then the top opening change. Okay. If we lock this one, for example, there's an error that will pop up. So meaning that if we lock this one, it will be over constrained, and we cannot change as well the other, or I mean you cannot change all the openings of our cabinet. So let's cancel this one. So for our mid opening, so let's try make it 750. So that's it. If you want to edit the top, so one of this opening should be one of the parameters of this opening should be removed. So if you want this, for example, top and bottom are editable, and then the mid opening are just whatever dimension or height is left. So you have to remove this one, then change and make the top opening editable. Or if you want the bottom opening not editable, I mean depends on what the difference between those, the top and the mid opening. So depends on you. So that's it. So let's try. So for example, we'll change the width. Then the length. There. So here on the uh, ribbon panel, you can see here the properties, the family types, then the family categories and parameters. So family types, you can actually edit this one. You can move the parameters up and down. So click this one, then move down. If you want to arrange this, then the mid opening, move down. So there. So formula, if you want to have a formula here, so the formulas that you're going to use are the same on the Excel. So for example, you want to have a formula here. So for example, the only editable here is the inside uh, opening or inside length. So you can add the inside length parameters, then put a formula. So that's or the thickness of your material. So for example, you want a 1" or 1/2 plywood, for example. So you can use a formula here. So on this type name, you can actually put a new type. So if your family is not parametric, you can actually create a new type. For example, the first family that you created is 12 by 600. So that's the first type. Then you have to change again the dimensions. So for example, 800 by 450. You can create another new type for that. So it depends on you. So that's it. So same as with walls. For example, the generic one. So I mean for the walls, for example, you have different types of walls. So that's how you will do it. So you have to put a new type on it. Okay. So let's apply then click OK. So we're going now to put this or load this into our project. So we have to save this. So to save, click File, then click Save. Then you can put this to our desktop. You can actually create a folder for your families that you've created. So once you're going to look for it, it will be easy for you to find your families. So let's say cabinet, polite cabinet. One, then save. There. Then to create a new project, click File, then click New, and click this arrow, then Project. Then change this to Architectural, then click OK. So we're going to create a floor. Here, and then a wall, for example. Okay, then go back to reference level, then click Load into Project. Here. Okay, so let's try to use the parameters that we created. So let's go to 3D view. So let's click this family. Then in the dimensions, for example, I want to change the length to 1.5. So it automatically changed the length. And then for example, for the bottom part, let's make it 300. So you can see it's 300 now. And then for the height, let's say 1.5. So as you can see here, it changed. Then we have to change the mid opening. So our top opening will be usable. For example, another 300 or 450. See. So that's how parametric family. So for example, we want to align this one. I've said earlier that if you want to align a family, for example, you can see the reference planes that you put into your family. So let's try. So click Align. So these are the reference planes that we have when we created our family. So you can see here that there's a dynamic input on the side, generic models, full height cabinet 1. So there's an info. So cabinet 1, the center front, then center front back. So that's the name of the reference plane. So let's try. So there. Why it's like this one? It's because it's an instance parameter. If our parameter is a type parameter, it will automatically move our uh, families without changing its length or width. So that's how instance parameter functions. Okay. Anyway, we can change naman the uh, width of this. So let's make it 450. Oh, there. Okay, so there. So that's it on creating a parametric family.